can't be that I have to take a pill or whatever every day for the rest of my life. And not only that, as I was dealing with my health issues, I was also going through an identity crisis because I had identified myself with my accomplishments.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Thrive State podcast. Once again, it's your host, Dr. V, and I hope you're having a beautiful day, wherever you're listening from. Hello, welcome. If it's your first time listening, I hope you get some value out of this podcast. This podcast is really meant to inspire, meant to give life lessons so that you can maybe take some of the nuggets that you hear and take your life to the next level. I'm super happy to introduce my next guest here, who has been a friend, who's been a coach and a trainer in my life. You've seen him on muscle and fitness magazines, years ago. He is an actor, a celebrity trainer. He has won martial arts competitions, and he's got a very beautiful healing story, how he was able to use things outside of conventional medicine to heal an autoimmune disorder. So I really want you to kind of tap in and listen here, because we talk about energy. We talk about the Qigong that he does. But, if you read my book, Thrive State, you would know that our DNA is constantly listening to the energy that we give to our cells. And we're either giving our energy, the cells, we're actually giving the Thrive State energy, which is the energy of optimal health, longevity, and peak performance, or you're giving your cells the bad energetic cues. And those bad energetic cues are the cues that make yourself think you're in stress or in danger. That activates your inflammatory response, or will lower your immune system. That leads to chronic symptoms, and that leads to chronic disease. And Qigong and some of the things that Tom talks about here today is, how do you bring energy back into the cells? How do you put that energy into the Thrive State? And Qigong is one of those modalities I talk about in my book. So you're going to want to listen to this episode. You're going to want to read the book as well. But a little bit more on Tom. Tomm Voss is a Qigong teacher and world champion martial artist, as well as a holistic nutrition, fitness, and life coach. After a decade as a professional bodybuilder and fitness spokesperson, the industry actually took a toll in his body, and Tom was diagnosed with a severe autoimmune disorder. He actually ended up in the ICU. On a journey to heal himself, he actually became a student of Grandmaster Zhou from the Wudang Dragon Gate Qigong lineage and learned holistic nutrition. Through the guidance of Master Zhou, healing himself completely and cleared himself of all medications. Today, Tom supports groups and private clients in healing themselves in the imbalances of chronic diabetes, high blood pressure, and cancer. He facilitates people in learning Qigong anywhere in the world on Skype, Zoom, or in person in Los Angeles. Tom is honored to help guide and coach people of all ages and all walks of life in achieving the balance and vitality required to live their greatest lives now. Get ready for a great conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, please meet Tomm Voss. Tomm Voss, the man, the myth, the legend, and he's joining us from Denmark. Tomm Voss, welcome to the Thrive State podcast.
Thank you for having me, Kien.
Tom, it has been such a pleasure knowing you over the last couple of years. Tom has been a coach. He's been a trainer in my life, and he's really had one of the most remarkable lives I know. And I want to dig into all of it. I mean, as you know from the bio I read, this guy's a martial artist. He's a coach. He's a trainer. He's a world champion in martial arts, and he's healed from illness. And he's got such a passion and fervor in life. I can't wait for you to get to know him more. But like the audience knows on this show, we start off just going in 5 quick questions, the 5 to thrive, all worth 1,000 points. And don't worry, the points don't mean anything. Question number 1 for you, Tom. Your childhood dream was to be?
My childhood dream was to be an action star, like Arnold Schwarzenegger. I wanted to do action movies like Arnold and Rambo, and was running around forests here, actually in Denmark, not far from where I am now, and was playing Rambo and Indiana Jones in the forest here.
So that's beautiful. And these questions are really meant to sort of stimulate further conversation. So we'll see where you are in terms of, does that desire still exist? Question number 2, the most challenging moment in your life has been?
Oh, wow. There's been a lot. I'd say losing one of my best friends in an accident. One of my best friends lost his life in an accident about 10 years ago, just before my 30th birthday. That was one of the hardest things I've ever had to deal with. There's a very beautiful story that goes along with that as well. But at the time, it was a very challenging time. Yeah.
Oh, well, we might get into that because, what we do know is part of our gift, part of our purpose is going through the struggle. And on the other side of that struggle probably is a beautiful story, a beautiful learning, so that we elevate, so that we can give more to the world. That's beautiful. Number 3, what is your most proud accomplishment?
Oh, what's my proudest accomplishment? It's a good question. I could get into a lot. I'll say winning the martial arts world championship. It really took a lot, defying a lot of odds and so many obstacles and challenges. But I kept standing in the vision of having my arm raised at the end of the tournament, and I accomplished it. And that, nobody can take that away from me. That feeling of accomplishment, of never giving up, no matter what showed up in my path. No matter what or who showed up. It just, again, about the accomplishments, right? It's not so much that I won the world championship. It's who I became in the process of that.
Yeah.
Understanding that anything is possible, right? And that is, once we have that, once we've accomplished something, we can always tap into that. And so I'm proud of that, just because of all the hard work it took, and also everyone who supported me on my journey to get there.
Yeah. And I can't wait to dive into the story even prior to that, because prior to that, I mean, you were in an ICU and not sure where your health was going to be. And to go from that point to the world championship was definitely a great feat. Number 4, you've got a great life. I know you've got a Qigong course, which we'll talk about. You are in the movies, looking ripped and looking good as usual. But what does Tomm Voss, what might be something he's struggling with right now that people might not know?
You've a lot of good questions that you have. What is something I struggle with right now? I think it's an ongoing practice of where life is going. Like, what do I want my life to mean? What do I want to leave behind when I'm not here anymore? What's the impact that I want to have? And the struggle, I think, is the question, am I doing enough? Right? There's always something to do. There's so much to do. And when I look at all of it, it seems like this mountain with no top. So the struggles sometimes, because I, of course, have moments where I'm not experiencing that, but it's sometimes just being present in the moment and dealing with what's right in front of me. What takes me off that course is thinking, oh, I got all this stuff still to do and all these things I want to do. Where am I going to start, and what am I, what direction am I going to go? But what is right in front of me? Like, what's the next best step?
That's beautiful. I know many high achievers, feel the same way, particularly myself, in an overwhelm. And so thank you for vulnerably sharing that with us. And the last question is, in this 5 to Thrive, what I want people to know about me is?
What I want people to know about me is that I really do my best to see myself in everyone. And that comes from all the struggles I've been through, and also being a coach and coaching people. I really do my best in any given situation, and no matter who I'm dealing with, to see myself in others. And that's been something that I've had to learn from tremendous hardship and loss, and just dealing with my own stuff. It's given me an ability to connect with people where I can see what they're going through. I can empathize with what they're going through, which I wasn't always able to do. Or maybe I was always able to do it, but I just didn't do it. Right. is that what I want people to know? Yeah, I guess that's a start, right? We got some time here.
No, we definitely have some time. I think that's great. And this is why I'm so excited to have you on today, because, I talk a lot about part of our purpose, is the things that sort of light us up, the things that naturally, bring these positive emotions to us, and sharing us authentically with the world. And the other aspect of it is the struggles that are gifted to us throughout our life so that we can overcome them, so we can be a beacon, having gone through something, so that we can now empathize and give more. And your life is so much there. Why I think you're a good coach is you've gone through so much in your life yourself. So let's just dive into it. I mean, what a perfect way to start this next segment, to find out your origin story, but you in your home in Denmark right now. So tell us about growing up. I've seen you in a lot of fitness magazines, back in the day. You looked great there, but that wasn't always the case. I remember you telling me you were a bit of a chubby kid growing up in Denmark.
I was actually in Denmark. When I lived in Denmark, I was a very active kid. I played a lot of soccer. As I said, I was out in the forest playing Indiana Jones, well, Rambo, and what, God knows what. So I was very active until I was about 9 years old. My family moved from Denmark to Luxembourg when I was 9 years old because of my dad's job. He worked for a Danish newspaper and was international sales director for a Danish newspaper. So he was stationed outside of Denmark, and he chose Luxembourg. So at 9, I had to move to Luxembourg and away from all my friends and all the activities I had in Denmark, but also moving to a country where Danish is not the first language. It's German, French, Luxembourgish, English. So moving away from everything and just being a new kid in a place that I didn't know,
Yeah, sure.
and not speaking the language.
Yeah.
Right. Not speaking the languages and really have to fit in. So I became a very passive kid and started eating a lot of junk. Candy was readily available, and soda and all that stuff, and spend a lot of time watching cartoon because I didn't have so many friends in the beginning. In Denmark, I could go out and play and do sports, and so I just became a passive kid, and eventually became a chubby kid. Now in school, I went to an international school there, where there were Danish kids as well. It was Danish kids and Danish teachers, and then from all nationalities. There were kids from all nationalities, but kids, in the early teens, because I had gained a little weight. I started being teased and bullied for being overweight, and it was tough. I didn't quite understand it, but I remember one summer I must have been about 13 or so. I was sitting one summer evening looking at the night sky. It was full of stars, and I was hoping to see a shooting star, so I could make a wish that I'd finally, be accepted, by the other kids, and that I wouldn't be bullied or teased for being overweight, and then maybe this girl that I had seen in school that made my heart skip a beat, that maybe she'd notice me, and maybe even fall in love with me. That was my wish. Well, I actually did lose the weight. I ended up actually getting a food poisoning that summer. No, it wasn't exactly how I had imagined.
So careful what you wish for, Tomm Voss.
It was not exactly how I had imagined it happening. But I got really sick and lost weight. Now I didn't lose all the weight, but I lost weight. And it took about three weeks or so for me to get my health back and get my energy back. And what I saw it as an opportunity to really transform myself. I was like, this is my chance. I feel I've lost weight. I'm lighter. So I started running. Every day after school, and eventually got so skinny that on the soccer field, I could run really fast, but I couldn't kick the ball anywhere. It wouldn't go anywhere because I had no strength in my legs. So the other kids in school started making fun of me for being too skinny. And I was like, wait a minute, I like now I've changed, but I'm still being made fun of. Like I didn't get that.
Mm,
So my brother-in-law, well, he's now my brother-in-law at the time, who was dating my sister. Um, he took me to the gym for the very first time when I was around 14 years old
mhm.
to strengthen my legs so I could kick the ball. And I absolutely hated it. I thought, why am I doing this? Just to feel sore? I mean, come on. I didn't get why I would push stuff around, push weights around just to be sore afterwards. But eventually, with dedication and just continuing to go, he would pick me up nearly every day after school. And eventually I could start seeing a change. I started getting stronger and faster, and the other kids in school started noticing as well. And because I did something that was different than soccer, and nobody really at that time went to a gym at my age.
Mm.
So because I did something different, they started making fun of me for that.
You
Like,
can't win there, huh?
like you got a lot here, but you got nothing here, and
Yeah.
and gave me the nickname Arnie at the time.
Oh, wow.
I didn't care. I was a fan of Arnold, so
Right.
I really didn't care. But what I learned was that, it didn't matter what I looked like. Didn't matter whether I was overweight or whether I was skinny or whether I was physically fit.
Hmm.
I still wasn't accepted. So what I got was like, oh, if I start just focusing on what makes me feel good and accepting myself for who I am and how I am, at least I don't have to fit in. So I just started focusing on what made me feel good. And eventually, because I started, doing that, I started being accepted. Like it really was as within, so without.
Hmm.
And I simply just started focusing on what I was good at. And that's what fitness training and bodybuilding was at the time. It was something I could put work into and I could see a result.
Hmm.
And that really taught me something about hard work and discipline. What I didn't know is that I was going to be asked by the owner of the gym that I trained at if I would be open to competing in the national championships in Luxembourg in bodybuilding.
Mm.
Now, at the time, I didn't really know what bodybuilding was. I knew what working out was. But he said, if you compete in the national championship on behalf of my gym, I'll give you a year free membership. So I said, okay, yeah, sure. It's a lot of money that
Hmm.
I was paying. I was mowing lawns and stuff to make money to pay for
Hmm.
my gym membership. So I said yes without knowing what I got myself into. So I started reading fitness magazines, Muscle and Fitness, Men's Fitness Magazine, and so on, and learned what I could about nutrition and training and competition and so on. Ended up competing and winning the junior championship, the Luxembourgish junior championship as a bodybuilder, and got the year free membership. But what I didn't know was that by winning the national championship, that now I had to represent the country, Luxembourg, in the world championship. So all of a sudden it opened up a whole world for me of travel and I could see results, like putting energy into something I was good at started opening up doors. And I then went on to compete in junior world championship in Barcelona in Spain. And then after that, multiple world championships. And then eventually in Dubai in 2000, where I was so blessed to receive an award of excellence for physical development. And looking back, being this kid, this chubby kid, looking up at the night sky, not wanting to be bullied, it really just got me present to that, anything is possible if we can be open to at least asking for it and having a vision that something great can happen, then it really can, and that's that amongst other successes and accomplishments I've had is what I share, like what I've learned from in terms of manifesting and visualizing.
That's beautiful. So it looks like you were able to manifest this career after maybe, a stint of being teased. I almost kind of felt that way. You, I think, tapped into knowing your worth and really working on yourself early. But for me, I was teased when I was a kid, and I was wearing the cloak of the white coat. I was chasing success, and that what made me sick. So now let me ask you the question, because you've gotten success, weren't winning these championships. How did you get from that point? What changed in you that led to disease coming in? Because I don't know how many years after all of that did you end up in the ICU, and what happened in between?
So, well, first the successes in bodybuilding opened up the doors to be able to come to America, to the United States. And I eventually, after a year of hard work and working with all the fitness magazines, I eventually was offered a contract for Muscle and Fitness. Joe Weider, who had brought Arnold Schwarzenegger to the United States, and became a spokesperson for Muscle and Fitness and Men's Fitness. I mean, years earlier, I was reading these magazines, and all of a sudden now I got to be in them and on the cover of them. And it just opened up my whole world. However, what came with that was also this pursuit, like, what's the next thing? Like I get to be on the cover of magazines, but now what? Like, there was just like, what's next? Like, it was a short-lived feeling of accomplishment and success, but there was also this sense of emptiness around it, like this pursuit that was never really fully satisfying.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
And I also had to really push myself to extremes. I knew what competition dieting was, and I knew what off-season dieting was. But there was no balance inside of that. It was either full extreme training, being ripped in shape, or being off-season, like putting on weight and building muscle. And all I knew was that. So I trained to be in shape year round, but very, very extreme, like cardio, hardcore dieting the whole time. And eventually my body just couldn't handle it. It was, imbalanced, like a engine. You rev it in the red RPM, eventually the engine is going to blow, right?
Yeah.
And that's what happened. I started, feeling sick ongoingly, having colds all the time, and eventually my health just deteriorated, and I got an autoimmune disease. And also this autoimmune disease was called Henoch-Schönlein vasculitis, and the doctors gave me, all these medications. I was given all these medications for inflammation, prednisone, all kinds of stuff to both suppress my immune system and remove inflammation and so on. But those medications also had side effects, and they affected my adrenal glands and my thyroid. So when I eventually recovered from that, I was told I had to be on thyroid medication for the rest of my life. And I was like, this can't, this can't be. There it can't be that I have to take a pill or whatever every day for the rest of my life. And not only that, as I was dealing with my health issues, I was also going through an identity crisis, because I had identified myself with my accomplishments.
Yeah.
With being this bodybuilder, being this fitness model, and all of a sudden my health was deteriorating. My body wasn't what it used to be. And I was so identified with my body that I was literally thinking, well, who am I without that? So it really put me on a journey of discovering, who I am and what I am. And not only that, I had to figure out how to heal myself.
This episode of the Thrive State podcast is brought to you by the Thrive State Accelerator. The Thrive State Accelerator is actually a home course that I developed using the exact same techniques I work with my celebrity clients, CEOs, and executives on how to get them to the Thrive State. The Thrive State Accelerator teaches you how to master your 7 bioenergetic elements. That's sleep, nutrition, movement, stress and emotional mastery, relationships, our thoughts and mindset, as well as purpose. In this Thrive State Accelerator, you're also going to get a bonus module on optimization. That's how I talk about supplementation, peptides, all the optimization techniques I use with my clients to get them to the Thrive State. Now, for some of you who are just joining us for the first time, you guys might be wondering, what is the Thrive State? Well, the Thrive State is actually the energy, the epigenetic environment we give to ourselves, telling our DNA how to act and how to respond. And if we want optimal health, longevity, and peak performance, if we can master these 7 bioenergetic elements, our ability to have those 3 things that we just said, optimal health, longevity, and peak performance, is at its greatest. And it also prevents you from getting chronic symptoms like brain fog, being overweight, feeling sluggish, acne, pain, all these chronic symptoms, as well as preventing you from getting chronic disease. So getting to that thrive state is really getting to that state to master being that very best version of yourself, so you could show up for you, for your family, for your business, everything that's important to you. So go ahead, check it out right now at kienvu.com/accelerator and use coupon code podcast25 for 25% off. Now back to the podcast.
So
Tell me at that worst part when you ended up in the ICU, exactly what happened. I mean, what were the symptoms that took you in there? Did you put on fluid? Did your blood pressure, drop all of a sudden? Like, what were the symptoms there? Because I want to bring people, give them an image of where it was like at your worst from the health standpoint. And I think that's a great contrast from like where you are now.
Right. So I was actually, it started when I was in Florida. I had booked a role to work on a film. So that's when my whole acting, that started opening up. The acting world started opening up for me. And within the first week of shooting, during a stunt, I sprained my ankle. And they took me to the emergency room because I couldn't walk, and the production was depending on me being able to walk. And the doctors put some anti-inflammatory. I got some anti-inflammatory, probably some cortisone or something like that, injections. And my body was just dealing with a lot of stress.
Yeah, sure.
And also, I wasn't resting my leg. We continued the production, and after about a day, I looked down at my legs and I had these red dots running up my legs, and I couldn't feel anything. The pain went away immediately after they had given me the injections they gave me, but these dots were running up my legs. And so I went back to the doctor, and he said, "You have to go to the ER right now." And what the red dots were capillaries that were bursting. And so I went to the ER. They took me off whatever anti-inflammatory stuff they had given me. And then all of a sudden, all the pain set in, stomach cramps. I mean, you name it. It was horrible. I was then flown back to LA and was in the ICU for about a bit over a week in Los Angeles, where I lost, I don't know, 20, 25, 30 pounds. And was hooked up to an IV. And my legs were the size of footballs, like this.
Yeah. So for people that don't know, vasculitis is an inflammation of the arteries in your, in your system. And it sounds like, from what you're telling me, it sounds like you've got a pretty systemic response, where it's not just happening. For some, you only get it in certain areas, maybe the skin, maybe the gut, but it sounds like yours was pretty full-fledged happening throughout your body for you to end up in the ICU. Wow, amazing.
And just so you get a little bit of an understanding of the feeling of it. So inflammation of the vascular system, right? Like you have capillaries everywhere.
Yeah.
So inflammation, it burns. It's what it feels like is like being stung by a bee, but everywhere that you have capillary, like everywhere you have blood vessels and capillaries, meaning your whole body is on fire. So it was excruciating. I don't wish it on anybody, but I went through it and luckily got out well on the other end.
Yeah, well, congratulations. I mean, I know you went from that point, you started to do a little studying on nutrition, Ayurvedic medicine. And then I know a big part of your healing was discovering Qigong.
Right. So once I got out, I mean, it took me about 6 months. I was on crutches for 6 months. I was on all these medications for about 6 months, and then on the thyroid medication after that. And it took me a couple of years to, sort of deal with that and figure out, like, how do I heal myself? How do I get off this medication? So that's why I started looking into Chinese medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, and find herbal compounds that I could maybe replace the medication with. And it wasn't quite working the way that I'd hoped. It would last for about 3-4 weeks, and then my body would go back to, when the thyroid doesn't work, all your organs don't function right, your digestion, like your energy levels, everything. So I'd have to go back on the medication again. So it became this like yo-yo of trying to get off, back on,
Yeah.
until I then discovered Qigong and met my teacher, who's a medical Qigong practitioner. And medical Qigong, so for those of you who don't know, well, Qi means your life force.
Mm-hmm.
Gong translates to cultivation. So it's really cultivating your life force. And there are different types of Qigong. There is martial Qigong, martial arts Qigong. We see Shaolin monks breaking stuff on their bodies. It's called Iron Shirt Qigong. They're using their Qi to protect their bodies and accomplishing amazing feats. And then there's medical Qigong, where a practitioner, a medical Qigong practitioner, is trained to emit energy, to emit Qi, but from the surroundings through his body, and balance a patient's energy. So balance wherever there's blockages or imbalances of energy, he helps balance your Qi, your flow of energy in your body. And then there's meditation Qigong, a meditation part of it, or cultivating part of it, which is where you as a practitioner, it's a moving meditation, movement, intention, and breath. You cultivate your own Qi. I'm sure many of you have seen people do it in the parks, both Tai Chi and Qigong. So that's what Qigong is in a nutshell. I mean, it goes back thousands of years in China, actually back to 5,000 years. They've found archaeological findings that depict Qigong movements and practice. So I met my teacher, and he was giving me medical Qigong healing session. And during the first session, I was laying with my head down and on a, what's it called, on a table.
Yeah.
And he can generate heat in his hands that is amazing. I mean, you feel it gets so hot that it burns you. Or it can burn you if
it can burn you. So, I just want to say Tom sent me to this guy to get a treatment, and I was actually burned. I actually have some marks that finally healed up after years, but this guy can create fire from his hands and heat. It's amazing.
Yeah, an incredible amount of heat. So while he has learned from the age of 7 to really channel energy with intention. And as I was laying down in this first session, I was taken back. Like all of a sudden I got flashed back to when I was a kid and being bullied as a kid. And I started seeing that whole thing play out again. And I started just weeping. I was face down and my tears were just dropping down on the floor, because that energy, that old traumatic energy that I didn't really got to release properly was somehow released. And it was very, very cathartic experience. And he then, after the treatment, said, well, I told him I was on the medication. He said, take half the medication for the next 2 weeks, and after 2 weeks, stop. But I want you to practice Qigong every day. So he invited me to his house to learn Qigong, and that's what I did. I started learning Qigong. I started practicing every day, and within 3 months, my blood levels completely normalized, and I've not been on any medication since. And this is over 10 years, 10, 11 years ago now. So it's been amazing. You can heal yourself,
No,
I just go ahead.
No, I said that's amazing. And, this practice is a little bit of how I came up with my concept in my book called the Bioenergetic State, which is really just the Qi. It's the energy that we give to our cells. See, our cells are constantly listening to the energetic environment around it, right? And that actually tells our DNA how to act, whether or not it's in a healing thrive state that promotes optimal wellness, longevity, peak performance, or on the opposite side, your cells thinks it's in danger because the energetics around it. And if it thinks it's in danger, it will raise inflammation, it will lower your immunity, that will put you prone to getting chronic disease. And so I love the fact that you bring in this energetic component, because that's what our cells are constantly listening to.
Yeah, I mean, it really comes down to this dis-ease, right? It means not at ease. So, and Qigong is really about restoring ease back to the body, to the nervous system, and a big part of it is being happy and relaxed.
Yeah,
I mean, that is our natural state. Joy is our natural state. And
Absolutely.
when we can return to that, the body can do what it needs to do. If it's not dealing with stress, because we all know that's what stress hormones do to us, right? I mean, they use stress hormones when they do transplants, right? They inject cortisol to suppress the immune system,
Yep.
right? Because they know that that's what stress hormones do, suppress the immune system.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, those have listened to the podcast. I go off all the time. I mean, we've got the stress state, which is exactly what happens when you've got a saber-toothed tiger running behind you. Your blood pressure and your heart rate goes up, your immunity goes down because, hey, if that saber-toothed tiger gets to you, like why divert that energy for healing infections, cancer, and all that if you're going to be somebody's lunch? So you divert all this healing and growth energy to protection energy, and then that actually puts you prone to getting chronic disease. So I love the fact that you've really healed yourself. Tell us about now your practice of coaching as well as your Qigong practice, because I know that you've gotten some awesome results. I know you were talking about a Parkinson's patient back when you were training me, who's got some remarkable results with Qigong and some of the stuff you're doing. So why don't you talk about that?
And also, with healing myself, yeah, I had to take all the steps to heal myself. Now, it did take, of course, an amazing teacher and great teachers
Well,
to teach me how to do it, right? And then I had to walk walk the road to
right.
healing. So now I since 2015, I've been teaching Qigong, and because I'm so passionate about it, because I got to heal myself from it. Not that, but also accomplish amazing things after I could use my body fully again.
Yeah.
The example you're talking about is one of my clients has had Parkinson's for over 21 years. She was a nurse in England, and when we first started practicing, and this was over Zoom. I still have not seen her in person. It's all been on over Zoom. In the beginning, she had heavy shakes and also slurred speech, because those are the symptoms of Parkinson's. And within the first week, and about 20 minutes into practice, her symptoms would completely disappear. Her speech would be clear, and her hands would be completely still. And the effect lasts for up to 6 hours after the practice.
Mm-hmm.
And it's simply by restoring ease back to the nervous system, ease back to the mind. Now, there's a component as well, which I coach her in as well, is it's about our outlook, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like when we have an outlook of worry, she was very worried about a lot of stuff. So Qigong is not just the practice itself, it's also a mindset, a lifestyle of seeing life from a happy and relaxed state. So I coach her in that, and changing the way that she was seeing her life and herself. And along with the practice of movement, intention, and breath, we were able to reduce her medication and also alleviate her symptoms. So it's a remarkable practice, and also a great example of how restoring ease to the body, ease to the mind, can alleviate dis-ease, any an illness.
Absolutely. I mean, that energy of emotions, that energy, we talk about in my book as well. You got the lower vibrational energies of worry, of fear, of anxiety, of hate, of resentment. All that actually puts your body in that stress state. When you're in those negative emotions, your body thinks that there's a saber-tooth tiger running behind you, and those have physiological effects. So techniques such as Qigong could actually, make you more aware of those emotional states. And with your mindset coaching, I know that people could start to maybe shift their focus from whatever the subconscious beliefs, maybe some old traumas that are coming up, so that they could release that and know that they could choose something different. That's a beautiful thing, Tomm, that you're helping people do.
Thank you. And I'm, I feel very blessed. I mean, it's a privilege and an honor to be able to do that. And as you say, because it's really about, discovering what these traumas are, the stuck energy, right? We're as human beings, we're emotional beings. We're meant to emote. Emotion is energy in motion, right? And when we don't keep energy in motion, when we suppress it, it doesn't get to flow and it gets stuck.
Yep.
I was never aware of that, right? In the past, until I discovered, healing, like what the elements are of really of healing. It's releasing energy, releasing old stuck energy.
Yeah.
It's really an honor to be able to share, to be able to share that with
Well,
people.
that's a very beautiful thing. I want to get people the opportunity because I know you've got some coaching and I know you've got an online course on Qigong, but I know you recently started a new venture too, and going into creating this company, Earth Remedies. So tell us a little bit about that and how you got into Earth Remedies.
Earth Remedies is a wellness company. We create both CBD tinctures and topicals, as well as medicinal mushrooms. So we actually have blends with both CBD and medicinal mushrooms. I have two partners, and I actually got into it because a longtime friend of mine, Ronnie, was looking to find the best possible CBD out there because his mentor and friend was dealing with stage 4 cancer.
Mm.
And there was so much junk out there, and he really just wanted to find the best possible product out there. So we teamed up and started doing our research to come up with and find the best possible organic CBD that was there, because of the benefits that it has, both on the body, on the immune system, on the nervous system, on inflammation, and so on. And we were able to supply him with really, really high quality CBD, and his cancer numbers actually reduced
Mm.
with a combination of both CBD and medicinal mushrooms. So the reason medicinal mushrooms are great, because they have adaptogens. Adaptogens, as you know, compounds that help the body deal with stress,
Mm-hmm.
strengthens the immune system, protects, like lion's mane, for example, protects the brain cells as well, and the neocortex and so on, improves cognitive function. Reishi, for example, has anti-cancerous effects as well. So we're taking the best of both worlds, and not just for people who are dealing with illnesses, but for people who really want to strengthen their immune system and use plants, medicines from the earth, which is where the name Earth Remedies come from.
Mm.
Remedies from the earth. And in turn, what we are committed to is that in turn we give back to the earth. So not only are we getting remedies from the earth, we are a portion of our profits will go towards remedying the earth back. So supporting like World Wildlife Fund and other nonprofits that we donate to.
Dude, amazing. Tomm, thank you for joining us today, letting you really know that healing story. And I think I share so many similarities in terms of, trying to chase something outside of myself, looking at something outside of myself, and then losing myself. And it wasn't until finding myself again, knowing what brings me joy, knowing that I am my best medicine. And I see a lot of parallels there. And your life, what you're able to do and how you're able to help people is amazing. So I want to give people a chance to know where to find you. How do people find you for coaching? How do people find you for your course? I know you wanted to give a special offers for the listeners here as well. And how do people find more about Earth Remedies? Take it away, Tomm.
Good. So, Earth Remedies is earthremedies.com, and it's earth with a U, URTH, remedies.com. And we're creating a discount
Perfect.
code.
We'll go ahead and leave it on the show notes thereafter. So read the show notes if you want that discount code.
Good. And then for Qigong and coaching, you can find my website at QiWithin, QiWithin.com. My online course is also on there, and you can contact me on there if you have any questions as well.
That's beautiful. Well, Tomm, thank you for this conversation. The last question is this. You've lived quite a life, model, fitness, trainer, world champion. I see you and nearly not sure where your health went, and created this life for yourself now, giving back. What has been your best medicine?
I'd say my best medicine is really discovering that my life used to be about myself. Like, what can I get? What can I get? What can I get? And that's why my life was always empty. Like, getting all these accomplishments and so on, but I didn't feel fulfilled.
Yeah.
What my best medicine was when I started asking, instead of what can I get, I started asking, how can I be of service?
Mm.
And it really, not only did it change my life path, because I got from losing my friend, we didn't get into that story, but
Mm,
one thing that he was remembered for was the difference that he made for so many people.
mm,
Like, not for what he had, house, money, whatever. That was not what he was remembered for. He was remembered for how many people he made a difference for, and
mm.
for me including. So I thought, after he died, I thought, well, why am I still here? What is my purpose with this life, and what do I want to be remembered for? And I know that I don't believe we're definitely not taking any of the material stuff with us when we leave this place.
Sure.
But I do think we take with us, the difference that we make for others, the joy that we can provide for others, we can have others discover the gratitude and the love
Yeah.
that's there. So really asking yourself how you can be of service instead of what can you get. I promise you it's going to open up your world in the most magical, miraculous way.
Beautiful. Tomm Voss, thank you for your time. Thank you for being on the Thrive State podcast.
Thank you for having me, Kien.
I hope you enjoyed that episode of the Thrive State podcast. And if this podcast is bringing a lot of value to you, if you find that your life is just improving with this podcast, that your life is getting to the next level, please consider supporting it. And here's a few ways you can do so. You can do so by liking this video and commenting on this video, and also sharing this video with your friends and family. Another thing you can do is go to ratethispodcast.com/Thrive State. Go ahead and leave us a 5-star review there. It will really, really help this show grow. And this will give me more time so that I could actually give more content to you, just like you got in this episode. And if you haven't already picked up a copy of my book, Thrive State, Your Blueprint for Optimal Health, Longevity, and Peak Performance, you can pick it up now. It became a #1 new release in longevity. Go to thrivestatebook.com. And if you enjoy the book, please consider leaving us a review as well. And the last thing you can do, if you're liking everything here and you want to work more closely with me as well as my team to get you into the Thrive State, go to qianvu.com/accelerator and consider joining the home course, the Thrive State Accelerator. It's really the course that I use. It's the concepts that I use personally when I work with CEOs, celebrities, and my high-profile clients to get them to the Thrive State. Again, the Thrive State Accelerator at qianvu.com/accelerator. And because you're a listener of this podcast, I want you to save 25% by using the coupon code podcast25. I hope we continue to give value to you. And remember always, you are your best medicine.